Alright, today I'm going to be changing the air filter on my 2014 GMC Sierra. This one has a 5.3 liter engine in it. The recommended time frame by GMC is 45,000 miles, which seems kind of high to me. I'll post the maintenance schedule at the end of this video so you can see what they recommend. But the manufacturer of this filter recommends around 12,000 miles, okay? I like to change. Alright, so let's take a look inside the engine compartment. And on this Sierra and on the Silverados, you're going to find the air filter housing on the passenger side toward the front, okay? But on most vehicles, if you look at your air intake hose, which looks something like this on most vehicles because it's flexible and the engine vibrates and so forth. So at the other end of that, aside from the engine itself, is usually where your filter housing is. I mean, I would say 99.9% of the time you'll be able to locate your air filter housing by following the end of this intake tube, okay? There may be some exceptions to the rule, so go ahead and post those in the comments. I'm not saying every vehicle is like this, but most vehicles are like this, okay? So this procedure that we're covering here today will actually be very similar or the same on most vehicles, Fords, Toyotas, obviously Chevy and GMC, Mazda, most vehicles, okay? So if yours doesn't look exactly like this, that's okay. I've got a couple of helpers here today. There's Keith and there's Connor, so keeping me honest here. All right, let's go ahead and grab something to remove this clamp. All right, so you could use a nut driver, you could use a straight screwdriver. I'm going to use a 5/16 inch socket and a 1/4 inch ratchet. Incidentally, it's the same size we're going to need to remove the housing bolts themselves. Okay, just going to loosen up this clamp. And again, I'm sure that people are able to change it without going through this, but I like to get that right out of the way and see what's in there, okay? Pop that right out of the way. Now let's take a look at where we've got 4 bolts that we need to remove, or screws. You can use a screwdriver. Let's see, let's take a look at this one first. There's one there, there's one there, there's one there, and there's one right there, okay? So I'm going to use an extension with my ratchet and my socket. Alright, let me set my camera back down and get started here. Okay, one reason I like to use a nut driver or a socket is because you can kind of grab a hold of the screw. You don't want to drop them. They're quite long, so you could actually back it out quite a ways and then back it out by hand the rest of the way. Okay, let me go ahead and get the rest of these out of here. You probably don't need to see the whole process here. All right, so for this one, I'm using kind of a long extension. You just got to squeeze it by that hose. There's a radiator tube also. And that one I'm just going to get loose and wind it out by hand here. Alright, let's get the camera out of the way. Alright, so let's go ahead and remove this. Just take your time. Just kind of work it out. Alright. Not too bad. Watch your mass airflow sensor wire. It's got a little anchor that goes into the corner there. I'll show you where that goes when we put it back together because I didn't show the removal of it. It kind of popped off on its own. Let's take a look. It's kind of the moment of truth here. See what the filter looks like. And it's actually not real bad, but clearly there's dirt and dust in there. So what I'm going to do, and the actual housing itself is not too bad, but clearly there's some debris, bugs, and so forth. I like to get as much of that out of there as possible. It's just one of those things I do, not necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and vacuum that out and kind of get as much of that loose debris out as I can, and then we'll put it back together. Alright, let's pop this into place here. Now, back when I first started driving, sort of the rule of thumb, or when I started working on cars, more accurately, was to hold the carburetor filter up to a window, and if you could see light through it, you're probably all set, right? So that doesn't hold true with these filters anymore. This one's a double guard, so that could be why they're recommending replacement at 12,000 miles. But I like to do it between 10 and 15,000 miles anyway. So again, I'm going to post that that recommended maintenance chart at the end of this video, so stick around for that. It's got other things on there as well, your oil change interval, your transfer case fluid change interval, all those types of things. So let me go ahead and reposition the camera, and we'll go ahead and get this back together here real quick. Alright, so then you just need to make sure that you get it in the right location. And I like to, if you watch other videos, I like to finger thread these, any kind of fastener really at this point, because I'm a little gung-ho sometimes with the ratchet. So finger thread, that way you know you're not getting it cross-threaded, you're not going to crack your filter housing or anything. It just makes it easier. And also you're not so apt to drop it, right? If you try to put it in with the ratchet first, especially this one right down here, you probably can't see it where you are. Alright. So while you had this apart, you could actually take mass airflow sensor cleaner and spray this down. I'm not having any issues. This doesn't have that many miles on it, so I'm not going to mess with that right now, because it'd be my luck that I'd spray it down and it'd throw a light. But this is the fastener that I was telling you about. Let me get the light so you can actually see it. It's right there, and it goes into that corner hole right there. So kind of popped out on its own, but it just pops right back in there. Okay, just keeps it from moving around. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and tighten all of these down, and I think we'll be all set. So don't forget to tighten up your intake clamp as well. You don't want to go gung-ho on it, just snug it down just so it doesn't fall off. Alright, thanks for watching. Again, stick around. Right now I'm going to pop that recommended service chart up, and next thing I'm going to do on this is the cabin air filter, the HVAC air filter, if you will. It just keeps the contaminants free of your heating and cooling system from within the truck itself. So stick around, and I'll link to that as well, along with the maintenance chart. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, give me that thumbs up. That's always helpful. And hit that subscribe button right there if you're not already a subscriber. Got a ton of videos. Hopefully you like them. Thanks for watching. Have fun.